On August 31st, 1986, two aircraft were flying high above Southern California. Different routes, different destinations, different purposes. They should never have met. But at 12:09 p.m., at 37,000 feet above the city of Los Angeles, the impossible happened. Two planes collided in midair. This is the story of Aeromexico Flight 498, and the chain of events that turned a normal flight into one of the most shocking aviation disasters in history. This is Hidden Truth Files. Aeromexico Flight 498 departed from Mexico City, bound for Los Angeles. On board were families, business travelers, and crew members doing their jobs like they had done hundreds of times before. The flight was calm, routine. Nothing unusual was reported. As the aircraft approached Los Angeles airspace, the crew prepared for descent. Weather conditions were clear. Visibility was good. There was no reason to expect danger. At the same time, a small private aircraft, a Piper PA-28, took off from a local airport. It was piloted by a private individual flying under visual flight rules. The pilot was not communicating properly with air traffic control. He entered one of the busiest airspaces in the world without full authorization. This was the first mistake. Los Angeles air traffic control was overwhelmed. Controllers were managing dozens of aircraft simultaneously. Radar screens were crowded. Communication was constant. In this environment, a single unidentified aircraft could easily go unnoticed. And that is exactly what happened. The private plane climbed into controlled airspace. It was not properly tracked. It was not properly separated from commercial traffic. No warning was issued. Meanwhile, Aeromexico Flight 498 continued its descent. At 37,000 feet, the two aircraft crossed paths. There was no time to react. The Piper struck the Boeing 727 at high speed. The impact was catastrophic. The smaller aircraft disintegrated instantly. The commercial jet suffered massive structural damage. Control was lost. Passengers never knew what happened. Within seconds, the aircraft broke apart in the sky. Debris rained down over a residential neighborhood in Cerritos, California. Pieces of metal, luggage, personal belongings, and aircraft components fell from above. Homes were destroyed. Fires erupted. Entire streets were covered in wreckage. Everyone on board both aircraft was killed. On the ground, several people lost their lives as debris struck houses and vehicles. The shock was immediate. Witnesses described hearing an explosion, then seeing parts of a plane falling from the sky. Emergency services rushed to the scene, but there was nothing they could do. The disaster stunned the nation. How could two planes collide in clear skies? The investigation began immediately. What investigators discovered was deeply unsettling. There was no single cause. There was no dramatic failure. There was no explosion or weather anomaly. Instead, there was a chain of human errors. The private pilot had entered controlled airspace without proper clearance. Air traffic controllers were overloaded and understaffed. Radar systems were limited. Collision avoidance technology that could have prevented the accident did not yet exist. Every layer of safety failed, not because of one mistake, but because of many small ones. The investigation concluded that the tragedy was preventable, and that conclusion changed aviation forever. As a direct result of this crash, major reforms were implemented. Traffic collision avoidance systems, known as TCAS, became mandatory on commercial aircraft. Airspace regulations were rewritten, training standards were improved, radar systems were upgraded, lives were lost, but aviation safety was transformed. Today, mid-air collisions between commercial aircraft are almost unheard of. Not because accidents no longer happen, but because lessons were learned from tragedies like Aeromexico Flight 498. This disaster revealed a hidden truth. Even the safest systems in the world depend on human decisions. And when those decisions fail, the consequences are devastating. Some stories are forgotten, others reshape history. This was one of them. This was Hidden Truth Files. Until the next case.